So,
Hello, my name is Annie,
and I'm Tori.
and we are doing a video today about experiments, different types of famous psychological experiments that had big impacts on the field of psychology, actually only in social psychology. So, first we are doing Stanley Milgram's shocking experiment, and second we are doing Philip G. Zimbardo's prison experiment, Stanford prison experiment. So, yeah, enjoy.
Please, disclaimer, don't do either one of these at home.
Unethical.
Yeah, they're not the best.
So, our first experiment is Milgram's obedience studies, which he did in 1963 when the Nuremberg trials were happening. And Stanley Milgram, he was interested because the Nazis who were on trial would keep saying that they were just following orders they ended up, killing 6 million people just because someone in a position of authority told them to. So what Stanley and Milgram wanted to do was figure out if the Nazis were a certain type of crazy or what was happening that would just make them do it, or if it was a regular person. Any regular person could be manipulated like that.
So basically, Milgram, he found a group of people who volunteered for the experiment, and so he wanted them to volunteer because it's not that ethical to complete this experiment. It's pretty shocking and electrifying in some ways. And so with those people, all of his subjects believed they were actually the experimenter instead of testing on people who had no idea about the experiment. So all of the people that were quote unquote tested on and the scientists in the room, those were all actors set up by Milgram in order to see whether the subjects would give in to obedience and actually perform the actions that we believe are unethical. So basically, he had them asking the actors questions. The actors are behind a screen or they're in a different room, so the subjects don't necessarily see them. Because if you see a person, that will allow you to form a connection with them and more likely have a response of not obeying those immoral actions. They would have them ask simple questions such as, what's 2 times 2? And the actors would start to get them wrong on purpose. And so then the subjects would deliver a shock to the actors. And the shocks range from very mild, barely hurt, maybe the actor will give out just a little oof, that hurts, or something like that, to let them know that they received a shock. And gradually will go to severe, and then it'll go to XXX, which means basically death for the actor. And no one wants to kill someone in an experiment. So the subjects believed that they were doing it for the experiment. As it went on and the shocks became worse, the researchers in the room with them, since they were seen as prestigious Yale University professors, they would have the authority to keep on commanding the subjects to continue the experiments. And since they were saying that this experiment is necessary, the subjects would continue to do it until most of them eventually, 65% eventually killed the person, the actor. And those people afterwards didn't believe that they would ever do it. But just because of the authority around them, they actually were obedient to something that they didn't believe was ethical at all.
Yes, and this study really shows us about how people obey things, why people obey things. They found that obedience was highest when the person giving orders was close by and they could see them. So if it was someone over an intercom, they were as likely to obey. And the person had to be legitimate. They had to believe that it wasn't some random guy. It was a Yale University person. When the experiment was supposed to be with Yale, they were more likely to obey too. And when the victims are depersonalized, distant, and there are no role models for defiance, that all contributed to high levels of obedience.
So right now we will be talking about Philip G. Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment. It took place in 1971, and it was actually in the basement of Stanford University, where he worked as a Stanford professor. This experiment included college kids, so this will be interesting.
College kids in the 1970s. So, basically, what Zimbardo did was he randomly assigned these group of male college-aged boys to be either prison guards or to be the actual prison, the prison guards or the prisoners. And the prisoners were stripped of everything that made them unique. They no longer had names, they were numbers. They all had to wear the same clothes. They all had to put bald caps on, and they all didn't have their, iconic hair. And so, while the prisoners were stripped of everything, guards just had to wear their guard uniform. And Zimbardo said that you have to learn to keep these prisoners in order. You have to keep prisoners in order. Because on the first day of this role-playing experiment, the prisoners, it was kind of a joke. So it was like, haha, you're a guard, that's hilarious, right? So, Philip G. Zimbardo, he really drove it home into the guards that you have to get these prisoners, to listen to you. You have to get them in order. You can't just have them mess around like this. So, within the first day of this experiment, which was supposed to be 2 weeks, but ended up only being like 3 days because it got so bad, they started using tactics to get these prisoners to behave. They would take away their food, take away their beds. In one particular instance, the first breakdown, which happened within 24 hours of being in prison, the prisoners were lined outside this person's cell, and they were chanting, "Prisoner 712 is a bad prisoner. Because of him, we can't sit down." And they chanted that over and over while he sat in his room and cried. And Zimbardo had to come in and had to tell him, you can leave. You probably should leave. But he took on this role so, fully that he felt like he couldn't. He felt like he had to come back and prove to his other prisoners that he wasn't a bad prisoner, that he could listen. And when others started to have breakdowns, they didn't seek out Zimbardo. They sought out lawyers, and they sought out the judicial system. So Zimbardo, even though this wasn't a real prison, they felt like they needed to use real prison things to get out. The abuse that the prisoners suffered under the hands of the guards, beating, starvation, taking away visiting hours, taking away call hours, no showering, things like that, really just drove them crazy. And then after the first breakdown, there was a replacement prisoner brought in who refused to conform. So he would not eat. He went on a hunger strike. And so the other prisoners, instead of seeing this as a symbol of yes, we can revolt, got really mad at this prisoner. And they would stand around at him and yell at him to eat his sausages and, really try and force him to conform to the rest so their punishment wasn't as bad. And the guards used group punishment. So they punished everyone but the prisoner who wasn't eating. This experiment in particular showed us a lot of how role-playing affects our real lives and how it affects how we go about our days and whatever role we are assumed. So it's a very important experiment, not ethical whatsoever, and it had to be ended after 3 days.